My wife's lover's wife exposed their year-long double life, and now I must secretly plan my divorce before everything detonates. August 3, 2026, I'll try to keep this as short as possible. My wife and I are both in our early 40s, we have been together since university, married for nearly 15 years, and we have 2 teenage children. We both earn good money, take regular family vacations and still had an active intimate life. As far as I knew, there were no serious problems between us. From the outside, we looked like a genuinely happy family. Then on Friday, a woman slightly younger than me came to my workplace. I had never seen her before. She introduced herself, gave me her name, told me who her husband was, and then calmly said that her husband had been having an affair with my wife. Then she showed me everything. Photos, messages, call logs, everything. She explained that she started suspecting something in early June after her husband received strange late-night messages, with no visible chat history. She started investigating and eventually uncovered thousands of calls and messages between him and my wife over the past year. She confided in her father, who immediately began helping her. Over the following month, with advice from several people including a lawyer, she managed to uncover the full truth, including the identity of her husband's mistress. My wife, we live around 5 hours apart, but our spouses work for the same multinational company. Over the past 14 months they had sex during business trips. It happened on 4 separate trips lasting roughly 5 days each, along with 2 shorter 2-day trips. You can do the math. The woman sitting across from me was incredibly calm. Honestly, she seemed almost cold. She said she had wanted to tell me much earlier, but she worried that I might not believe her. That was why she waited until she could come to my city and put all the evidence directly in front of me. She also admitted that revenge against my wife was part of why she came to me. She intended to file for divorce that day or the next. According to her, everything was already prepared. She said she could not keep pretending that her marriage was fine because she could barely stand the thought of touching her husband anymore. Apparently her husband had noticed she was acting differently recently and began panicking that she might have discovered the affair. He warned my wife, and my wife began panicking too. Until then, I had not noticed anything strange. My wife had seemed completely normal, but once I knew, I started seeing things differently. She was suddenly always around me asking me questions, listening closely whenever I talked to anyone, and watching me in a way that felt completely different from before. On Friday she kept asking why I was home so late. After reading the messages it became painfully obvious that neither of them ever intended to leave their marriages. They repeatedly talked about how happy they were with their lives. The affair was something they wanted alongside their marriages, not instead of them. The messages contained things I never should have had to read. They compared their spouses in bed. My wife mocked the other man's wife. They talked about taking vacations together. They even gave each other parenting advice. It made me physically sick. The other betrayed spouse told me that once her lawyer approved it, she planned to notify the company they both work for. She also intended to tell their children, who were about the same age as ours, the full truth after her husband was served with divorce papers. Before she left, she wished me luck and told me I could contact her if I needed anything. We have remained in contact, and the last thing she told me was that she planned to file that day, or at the latest, the next. My wife's phone is completely clean. I used it in front of her, and she acted completely normal. I'm completely knocked down. I'm trying to act as if everything is normal, and blame my mood on work stress, but it is incredibly difficult. I honestly do not know what to do. My heart tells me one thing, while my head tells me something else. As twisted as it sounds, it is somehow easier knowing this seems to have been driven by sex rather than love. Right now, I do plan to divorce, but there are so many practical issues. We have 2 houses, cars, investments and teenage children. I need time to think and create a plan of my own. The other wife does not want to wait. She simply cannot bear being around her husband anymore. I understand that, and I'm grateful that she told me the truth because I honestly do not think I would have ever discovered any of this on my own. I only wish she had told me a few days earlier. I'm not going to confront my wife until I have spoken to a lawyer, which I hope to do within the next 24 hours. My biggest problem is that I barely have any time to process what happened, let alone get everything in order before this explodes. I asked the other wife if she could give me a few more days, but she said her lawyer was strongly advising her to file immediately, begin the legal process as soon as possible, and tell their children the truth. Her lawyer believes that moving quickly will allow her to keep as much control over the divorce as possible and give her the best chance at a fair outcome. On top of all of that, she cannot stand being near her husband anymore. I spoke directly with her lawyer. There is a possible conflict of interest, so she cannot represent me even though having one lawyer involved initially seemed like it might have made things simpler. However, she gave me the contact information for one of her colleagues and recommended that I contact her instead. We have already spoken, and I have a meeting scheduled for later today. According to the other wife, she expects both of them to lose their jobs once she reports the affair to their company. I asked whether that was really a smart decision, especially considering child support and alimony. But she said she does not care about that anymore. Her plan is to sell whatever assets she receives, move back to her hometown with the children, and rely on the support of her father, who is prepared to help her completely. Right now, her only goal is for her husband to face the maximum consequences for what he did, and for her to get away from him as fast as possible. Where I live, infidelity has absolutely no impact on divorce proceedings. That means I will almost certainly lose a significant portion of my assets, if everything is split 50-50-50. My wife cares deeply about her reputation. She is highly respected in our community, and I know her parents would be disgusted if they learned the truth. Part of me believes I might be able to negotiate a fairer settlement by agreeing not to expose the affair publicly, especially since I have been the primary breadwinner throughout our entire relationship. But another part of me is carrying so much anger and resentment that I want everyone to know exactly what she did, and despite everything she has done, I still love her. I do have the evidence. I have pictures of them together, call and message records connected to my wife's phone number, and messages that line up with the timing of those calls and conversations. I also have a large number of WhatsApp messages and calls from my wife's phone number. In those messages she talks about me, our life together, and our children. It is unmistakably her. There is nobody else it could possibly be. As soon as the other wife realized what had been happening, she did everything she could to uncover the entire truth. She knows which hotel room he stayed in during their last trip, the restaurants they visited, and she has pictures of them together, along with much more. She spent a month gathering and organizing all of it. The only thing left for her to do is tell him that she knows, yes, her phone is completely clean. I honestly have not checked her screen time, but I went through her messages and call history, and there is nothing suspicious in either one. I have always had access to her phone. She has used the same passcode the entire time, and she has never acted nervous, uncomfortable, or protective when I used it, not before, and not now. To be honest, I hardly ever touched her phone anyway. Usually I would only use it to call someone if mine was not nearby, so maybe that is why she has always been so relaxed about it. Everything the other wife showed me suggests they communicated through regular text messages and WhatsApp. It is my wife's phone number, so it does not look like she was using a secret second phone. Still, there is one detail that seems strange to me. In the WhatsApp screenshots of their conversations, her profile picture is not visible. I checked my wife's WhatsApp settings because I wondered whether she had changed her privacy settings so that everyone except her lover could see her profile picture. But that was not the case. So that part is still unclear to me. It is possible she blocked him right when the other wife was gathering more evidence, but the number is definitely the same. They do not follow each other on Instagram, and the other wife has not shown me anything that suggests they communicated there. I also have not checked email yet. I checked her contacts too, and everything looks normal. His number is not saved in her phone. I do not know if she deleted the messages and blocked him now because she is panicking. What I do know is that according to the other wife, the last time they spoke was early last week. I strongly believe reconciliation is not going to happen. I have spent this entire weekend thinking about everything. I have barely slept, maybe only a few hours total, and it is incredibly hard to accept that she was capable of doing this to me and our family. The fact that she showed absolutely no signs of cheating makes it even worse. It makes me feel like I never really knew her. Right now, it honestly makes me feel like she is a psychopath. And reading those messages where she compared him and me in bed, where she joked that at home she was the caring wife and mother, but on business trips she was his dirty girl. It has disgusted me in a way I do not know if I will ever get past. That is how I feel right now. Maybe I will feel differently in a few weeks, but I cannot imagine it at the moment. The other wife filed for divorce today. Where they live, the divorce petition is not served immediately. It usually takes 1 or 2 weeks before it reaches the other spouse by mail, but she told me she is making him leave the house as soon as she files, so that is happening today. Right now, both of our spouses are at work in their respective cities, so I have no idea what will happen once they get home. I'm expecting some kind of update from her later, before I get home myself, which will be a few hours after my wife gets there. She also told me she will not say anything about me or my wife when she confronts him. She does not work and is currently home with the children, while her husband earns a lot of money, and is at least 2 positions above my wife professionally. Her lawyer gave her permission to notify his company because even if he loses his job, he will still be required to pay child support once he finds another one. From what I have understood through my conversations with her, her father is a very serious man, so her financial future is not really a concern. At this point she just wants her husband to face consequences for what he did. That is her main focus now, and she does not seem to care about anything else. Update 1. August 6, 2026, and my wife's affair partner's wife has now filed for divorce. After she confronted him, he threw every excuse imaginable at her, trying to save their marriage. He claimed he had gotten carried away and couldn't stop. He insisted it was only sex, that he loved his wife, and that while my wife was attractive, his own wife was even more attractive. He promised he would do anything to repair the damage. He swore he would never speak to my wife again, that there would be no more business trips, and that everything would change. None of it mattered to her. She made him leave their house. At first he refused to go, but when she threatened to tell everyone at their workplace what he had done, he finally packed up and left. She kept me informed while all of this was happening, so I knew things were unraveling on their side before I even got home. When I walked through my own front door, I immediately noticed that my wife was acting completely differently. She was extremely nervous, barely able to look at me, and seemed constantly on the verge of tears. On Tuesday evening she finally confessed everything. By then, I had already met with my lawyer twice, although my wife has no idea about that. My lawyer asked me not to reveal anything about my plans for a few more days while she gets everything prepared. She believes I may have a strong claim to roughly an additional 20% of the equity in our house, since part of the purchase price came from money my parents gave me. She also brought up several concerns involving our investments and stock holdings. Those need to be reviewed carefully, but she thinks they could work in my favor before we move forward. The one thing my lawyer and I disagree on is the children. My children are 15 and 13. They are close to both me and my wife. They are happy, healthy kids, and until now they have believed they had a stable family and a happy home. My goal is not to protect my wife's reputation. I honestly do not care about that right now. My concern is protecting my children from even more emotional pain than they are already going to experience. But my lawyer believes I am making a mistake by keeping the truth from them. Her argument is that we have always looked like a happy couple with a stable family. If we suddenly divorce without any explanation, it will be incredibly confusing and painful for the children. She also pointed out that the other wife intends to report the affair to the company where both my wife and her affair partner work. Both her lawyer and mine believe there is a good chance that my wife and her affair partner could lose their jobs, especially because he held a position roughly 2 levels above my wife. My lawyer thinks that if I file for divorce and my wife loses her job, the children will eventually connect the dots. In her view, they will realize what happened anyway, and then they may resent me for hiding it from them. She also brought up the financial settlement. She believes my wife might be more willing to agree to a more favorable division of assets if doing so could help repair her relationship with the children. Likewise, if I eventually decide not to divorce, my lawyer believes I could negotiate a very strong postnuptial agreement. My wife would be desperate to rebuild trust, not only with me, but with the children as well. My lawyer also warned me that if I keep the truth from them, they could end up blaming me for the divorce. My wife could easily make herself look like the victim while I become the one who supposedly destroyed the family. At first, I was not convinced by my lawyer's reasoning. She is relatively young and does not have children herself, so I struggled to understand her perspective. But the more I think about it, the more I wonder whether she might be right. The other wife told her children everything. They are around the same age as mine. They have not spoken to their father for the past few days, but according to her, they are doing okay. My children still do not know anything. I'm trying my best to stay composed around them, but they have clearly noticed that something is wrong, especially with their mother now sleeping in a different room. My son asked me what was going on. He wanted to know why she was sleeping separately, why she had been crying, and what was wrong with her. I only told him that we had an argument. So it is obvious they know something is happening. They may not know what, but they can feel the tension in the house. There is absolutely no chance that my wife will tell them on her own. The moment she confessed, she immediately begged me not to tell the children. She believes they would hate her for the rest of their lives if they knew what she did. Then she began offering everything possible in exchange for another chance. In her mind, I will eventually get past this, forgive her, give her another chance, and she will do whatever it takes for us to be happy again. Honestly, she seems completely disconnected from reality right now. When she confessed, she spoke for about 15 minutes straight. I listened to her. She said she knew I was aware of what had happened. She said she could feel it. Her affair partner had also told her that he had been kicked out of his house and that I probably knew everything by then. To be honest, I believe her when she says she sensed something had changed in me. Since Friday, I have not been able to completely hide my emotions or act normal around her. After she finished saying what she needed to say, she asked me to say something. The only thing I told her was that I needed her to leave me alone and sleep in another room. Since then, there has barely been any communication between us. She sends me messages during the day, and once the children are asleep, she comes to my door and asks whether we can talk. She keeps trying to explain that she had been living 2 separate lives. One was some fantasy life without children, and the other was the life she says she loves 100 times more. The life with me and the kids. She says she knows she was not acting like herself. She says she needs psychological help and that she will do anything for another chance. But honestly, I do not want to hear any of that right now. It depends on what someone considers remorseful. To me, remorse is not crying. It is not sending long messages about how much she loves me. It is not offering every possible promise she can think of. Real remorse would be action taken without me having to tell her what to do. It would mean telling the children what she did. It would mean seeking professional help on her own. It would mean admitting it to her parents, knowing they would be devastated and angry with her. It would mean offering me additional assets herself in the event of a divorce. It would mean paying for a polygraph on her own, Just to try to give me some peace of mind that this was not something that happened before. It would mean voluntarily telling me she is willing to do paternity testing if that would help me find some peace. It would mean taking a sexually transmitted disease test. It would mean immediately resigning from her job and finding another one. It would mean telling her sister and her sister's husband what she did. I need actions from her before I can honestly say she is remorseful. Her tears, her begging and her messages asking me to listen are not helping. Her saying she will do every one of those things does not help either. I need her to actually do something on her own. I can say that she seems remorseful. For the past 48 hours, she has barely left the room. She has been crying, asking me over and over to talk to her, but I honestly have no idea what I'm supposed to say. I read every message the other wife sent me, and to me it almost looked as if my wife and her affair partner were under the influence of something when they were talking. Their conversations were scattered, disconnected, and all over the place. They were not even messaging every day. Sometimes weeks passed without a single message between them. Most of their conversations happened before business trips, and they were mainly about sex. But the part that disturbed me more than anything was the way they gave each other advice about our children and our spouses. They talked about our family lives while hiding this from both of us. That is something I still cannot wrap my head around. We never watched pornography together. But it is obvious now that she was looking for something else, something she believed she was getting from her affair partner that she was not getting from me. That is what makes this so confusing. Like I said, we had an active sex life. She never rejected me, and I never rejected her. Of course, there were nights when one of us was exhausted, but neither of us ever pushed the other away for 3 or 4 days at a time. She never complained to me or told me that something was missing. If anything, after we had sex, we would usually lie there talking, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. I thought we were close, I thought we were happy. That is why this has been so unbelievably hard to process. I feel like the biggest fool in the world. I feel pathetic. If I am being honest, I'm leaning toward divorce by about 90%. That is one reason I'm considering telling the children. I need to understand how they react and how they feel about everything that has happened. My biggest wish right now is for them to finish school as normally as possible, go to university and follow the paths they want for their lives. I do not want this to destroy their futures. At this moment, I cannot stand the thought of touching my wife. That is how I feel right now, but I do not know how I will feel in 10 days, in 2 months, or further down the road. My lawyer told me she has handled many cases where husbands were determined to divorce in the beginning but eventually changed their minds, especially because of the children. She said that if I choose to stay, I should seriously consider a postnuptial agreement that strongly protects my interests. Then, once the children leave for university, if I still cannot forgive my wife or move forward with her, I could still choose divorce and begin a new chapter of my life with someone else. I have also continued talking to the other wife. She has told her father, her brothers, and of course her children what happened, but she does not like speaking with her family about it because they keep telling her everything will get better. She hates hearing that. They call her constantly, and all she wants is some peace. I have barely told anyone myself. Right now, she is my only real source of support. She gave me the evidence, opened my eyes to what was happening, and she is the only person who truly understands what I am going through because she is trapped in the same nightmare. She likes talking to me too. We are both dealing with the same betrayal, the same shock, and the same feeling that our entire lives were built on something we did not fully understand. I do not see why I should cut off the one person who has been honest with me through all of this. The idea that I would need to explain to my wife that she must completely cut contact with her affair partner for there to be even a 1% chance of our marriage surviving is insane to me. If I have to tell her that, I would be the biggest doormat imaginable. My talking to his wife does not give my wife and her affair partner some kind of permission to keep speaking to each other. That makes absolutely no sense. If my wife wants to be with him, she is free to go. Nobody is stopping her. She has complete freedom to make that choice. His wife has already filed for divorce and wants nothing to do with him anymore, so he will be a single man soon enough. If that is what my wife wants, then she can make that choice openly, instead of living a double life behind my back. If it were not for his wife, I probably never would have discovered the affair at all. I'm going to remain in contact with her for as long as I want to. I will support her the way she has supported me, and I will be grateful to her for the rest of my life for opening my eyes to the truth. If she eventually decides she does not want to talk to me anymore, that is completely fine. I will not bother her. But right now, she wants to talk, and she genuinely wants to know what is happening on my side. Whether that bothers my wife or not honestly does not concern me at all. I have decided that I'm going to tell my children. Last night before going to bed, I had a brief conversation with the other wife. She told me how things had gone with her children. They are extremely angry with their father, but they are still laughing, spending time with friends and functioning normally otherwise. I do not believe she is lying to me. Up to this point she has been completely honest with me, and that honesty is the reason I even know about any of this. I'm not going to tell my children every explicit detail. I am simply going to tell them that their mother had an affair and that I have hired a lawyer. My lawyer advised me to speak to the children without my wife there. She believes my wife should not be present because she could influence them emotionally with tears or interrupt the conversation. She told me that I need to answer their questions myself rather than allowing my wife to answer for me. If necessary, she said I can show them limited evidence, including messages my wife sent me apologizing and asking for another chance. Only after I have spoken to them does my lawyer recommend that they speak with their mother. Ideally, I should not be present for that conversation. This is advice from someone who has handled many divorce and family law cases. I do not know exactly when I will speak with them, but it will happen sometime this weekend, maybe even today. My lawyer also told me that one of the biggest mistakes parents make during situations like this is assuming their children should not know anything. She said husbands often make the mistake of believing they have to carry the entire burden alone, hide the affair, and protect their children by keeping the truth from them. But according to her experience, that does not always protect anyone. In many cases, the children eventually become angry with their fathers for never telling them the truth. Instead of preserving the relationship, keeping everything secret can leave the children with strained relationships with both parents. No matter what I do, it feels like I somehow end up being blamed. Blamed for what? For not protecting my wife? Or for not protecting my children? They are not stupid. Over the last few hours, I have been texting with my son because he is looking for answers. Now I'm supposed to lie directly to him. From the way he talks to me, it already feels like he believes I did something wrong. 4 or 5 days ago, I might have looked at this differently. But I do not anymore. I have made up my mind. I'm gonna listen to my lawyer, and I'm gonna tell them. They do not need to know every detail, but they will know that their mother had an affair. Update 2. Yesterday afternoon, I finally told the children. It was just the 3 of us and I wanted them to hear it directly from me instead of sensing that something was wrong and filling in the blanks themselves. They were shocked. Obviously they had so many questions, and they kept demanding that I not lie to them. They wanted to know everything: where it happened, when it started, who the affair partner was, his wife's name, what they looked like, what the messages said. They wanted every detail they could possibly get. I didn't tell them absolutely everything, but I gave them the basic truth. I explained where it happened, when it happened, and why my wife claims she did it. I went into as much detail as I felt they could handle without making things even worse for them. I had expected my son to be furious, and my daughter to be emotional, but it was actually the complete opposite. My son was incredibly calm. He told me he had already suspected that something like this might be happening, so in a way he had mentally prepared himself. The only thing he had believed was that I must have done something wrong. Hearing him say that made me even more relieved that I had told them the truth. I could not bear the thought of my children blaming me for something I did not do. My daughter, on the other hand, was absolutely furious with my wife. For the first time in my life I heard her use words I never expected to hear from her. She was so angry, so hurt, and it was painful to watch her realize that the person she trusted had done this to our family. They asked me what was going to happen with the divorce. I told them that for now, divorce is my plan. They took that very hard, but we are trying to take everything one day at a time. Afterward, I brought them home and left so they could speak to their mother privately. I need to make something clear: everything I know about what happened after that came from the children. I did not see or hear any of it myself. According to them, they yelled at her for a long time. My son also contacted her parents and told them what had happened. He said he had called them a few times during the previous days because he knew something was going on, but they apparently had no idea what the truth was. What I find strange is that her parents never contacted me afterward to ask what was happening. Still, once my son told them, they immediately told her to come stay with them. The children then told her to leave the house. I have since spoken with her parents myself. They are completely devastated. They cannot believe she did this, and they are deeply worried about what this will do to her as well as to the children. They asked me directly about the divorce, and I told them that it was the plan. The second I said it, I realized I probably should not have. Of course they are going to pass that information on to her. But I was not in a good mental state at the time, and I was just trying to get through the conversation. I still have not seen her. She left before I got home. From what I can tell, she only took a small amount of clothes and nothing else. Since last night, she has not contacted me at all. No calls, no messages, nothing. She did call our daughter, but our daughter refused to answer. I spoke to her parents again this afternoon, and they told me my wife is completely devastated. When our daughter ignored her call, she apparently turned her phone off. I do not know whether she has turned it back on since then, but she has not called me or the children. Honestly, none of us is ready to hear from her right now. That is where things stand. As awful as this has been, I honestly feel much better after telling the children. A huge weight has been lifted from me. I could never accept them believing that I caused her affair or that I was somehow responsible if our marriage ends. At least now they know the truth, and I no longer have to pretend around them that everything is normal. They are taking it very hard. They are extremely angry with their mother and have said things like they will never speak to her again. I understand why they feel that way right now. She did not only betray me, she betrayed our family. I do not understand how anyone could believe this only affected me when it has completely shattered the children's idea of their parents and their home. Thankfully there is no school at the moment, so they have time to process everything without having to put on a brave face around their friends every day. They are embarrassed and terrified that people will find out and start talking about it. I promised them that nobody will know except my lawyer. I will not even tell my best friend. My lawyer is happy with the way I handled everything. She said she needs until Tuesday to gather information and investigate everything involving our assets. After that, we will meet at her office and discuss the next steps. The other wife has also been told. She is extremely pleased, and she is not hiding the fact that she feels satisfied watching my wife's world fall apart. She plans to contact the company next week and report the affair involving her husband and my wife. I am still confused about why she is waiting and exactly how she plans to do it. She told me she knows her husband's supervisor very well, and that he is one of the key people at that branch. I asked what would happen if he decided not to do anything, and she told me not to worry. She says she has another plan and that she will accomplish what she has set out to do. Her lawyer apparently supports her fully, although I do not know whether the lawyer is directly involved in what she is planning. The other wife is keeping the details to herself. Maybe she does not trust me enough to tell me everything. I do not know. She seems to be moving forward in huge steps, while I still feel like I'm standing in the middle of the wreckage, trying to understand how my life changed so quickly. I do not believe my wife will stay in contact with the affair partner, but I also believed we had a great marriage once, so I do not know what to believe anymore, anything about it. That is why this entire situation feels so strange to me. She has apparently been sitting on this information all week without telling anyone, even though she supposedly knows her husband's supervisor personally. Still, she has made one thing very clear to me: getting her husband fired is the only thing she truly wants, aside from having my wife fired too. She says she does not care what happens afterward, or what the consequences might be. Money is not a concern for her because she comes from a wealthy family, and her father is fully supporting her through all of this. Her only real goal is revenge. She wants to take the children and move back to her hometown as soon as possible. From what I understand, her husband losing his job is an important part of what needs to happen before the court will allow her to relocate with the children.